welcome to AEW Discussion. I'm your host and AEW enthusiast Dougie Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Dynamite, March 15, 2023 episode. In this episode, the Dynamite took place in the country of Canada, more specifically Winnipeg, and they featured Winnipeg's own Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho competing in a triple threat trios title match. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the rebar mitzvah of MJF. So this was a hot start to the show, and a great way to introduce prospective new challengers to the title picture. MJF, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Sammy Guevara, and Darby Allin have been considered and billed as the four homegrown talents and the four pillars around whom AEW would be built. And in this era of the company, it is important for Tony Khan to start looking ahead, which would make the time now to move on this match. Now, what will be the actual match? TBD on that. But Double or Nothing will mark 4 years since the inception of AEW, or the birth of AEW, and there's no better way to highlight where the company started and where it is going and how far it's come than by booking a fatal 4-way for the title in the main event of that show. That would, be the best way to do it. There is some time to kill until Double or Nothing. It's March. Double or Nothing's not until May, so perhaps you could kill some time by having these guys, the three, Perry, Allin, and Guevara, all work their way towards a title match and then set it up for that fatal 4-way. Gotta give credit to Guevara in this segment. He showed up and delivered a heated promo that was different from the normal arrogance that is his mic work. He reminded viewers of the young star he once was that overcame the early hate to become one of the more popular competitors in the inner circle. So even though he's not a fan favorite, he's still one of the original pillars of AEW, and a match at Double or Nothing, fatal 4-way, the four pillars competing for the world title. Yeah, I'd say sign me up for that. Hangman Page and Dark Order versus Blackpool Combat Club, and this was a solid match, which it's not much of a surprise considering the key figures involved. What made it better though was the crowd's love was to Grayson, and the idea that the underdog Grayson would score the comeback victory. That did not happen though, and instead the Blackpool Combat Club would pick up the win and further establish themselves as a legitimate bad guy act, despite one of the more popular stars in AEW history leading it. John Silver and Alex Reynolds would make the save after the match, and Uno showed out. They would make the save after the match because there was a brawl, or basically the action continued after the match, and give credit to Evil Uno here, he showed out in this match, and I think it can be expected at some point that there's going to be a big blow-off match at some point, some sort of big multi-man match going on between Blackpool Combat Club versus Hangman Page and Dark Order, although does the Elite now factor into this as well? Some questions surrounding that too. Now, I saw the idea of blood and guts being thrown around. Truth be told, I don't really have that much interest in blood and guts. I think that's just mainly because AEW has overdone it with the blood. That it's just not something that you want to see because you've seen it a bit too much. But I wouldn't be surprised if AEW brought it back, and I wouldn't be surprised with the way this feud is trending, that if AEW wanted to bring back blood and guts, if they were going to bring back blood and guts, this would probably be the feud that would feature in it. Or maybe perhaps they can come up with something else. We'll see. AEW International Championship match, Orange Cassidy versus Jeff Jarrett. And Cassidy would once again showcase why he has steadily and consistently been among the best workers in AEW over the last 8 months. He has worked great matches with different kinds of talent, and this was no different. This was more of a sports entertainment heavy match, but it was still a good match, and the interference was well timed, and Albert Edwards started as the referee that prevented Jarrett from stealing championship gold. Jarrett, to his credit, proved that he can still hang in one-on-one action, which I think can be attributed more so to him just being a smart and experienced in-ring performer, knowing what he has to do to make the match work with the guy he's in the ring with, and this was evident as much. Now, does that mean he should continue competing in singles matches going forward? Probably not on a consistent basis, but at the very least, he didn't look out of place. So, at the very least, there's room, there's room for him to compete in future singles matches, but again, don't make a regular habit out of it. And then the show concludes with the AEW World Trios Championship match, The Elite versus the House of Black versus Jericho Appreciation Society, and the House of Black would retain their titles here, and following the bell, a brawl would break out between the brawl that had started backstage between Heyman Page and the Blackpool Combat Club would spill out into the arena and culminate with Page standing between his foes and his former friends, The Elite. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a well-executed cliffhanger. Now, Page has not been a member of the Elite for a couple years now, with his friendship with the Elite dissolving. I believe it was during Hangman's battle with Omega over the world title, if I remember my AEW history correctly. There have been some teases on the Being the Elite YouTube show, and Page even made some mention to being integral friends. I think it was a month or two ago, and so it looks like our reunion with the Elite might be coming sooner rather than later, and considering that Page is currently engaged in a war with a seemingly unstoppable Blackpool Combat Club, well, it might be the right place for Page to pick up some allies, although the numbers game it is kind of interesting with the numbers game, because Bryan Danielson's currently out of action, and right now it's just Moxley, Yuta, and Castagnoli, which is 3, and then you have Page, and Page has Dark Order, and in Dark Order, if you factor in, there's 4 members there, Silver, Reynolds, Uno, and, I don't know if Grayson's going to be involved, but 3 or 4, depending on whether or not Grayson's involved, and then you factor in the Elite, there's 3 big guys right there, so the numbers game, I think, he's still got to kind of work that one out, but, who knows, maybe the Elite teams up with, maybe the Elite and Page reunite and take on the Blackpool Combat Club, which would, again, with the numbers, Blackpool Combat Club's going to have to figure that one out, but we'll see what they want to do there. Credit to Jericho and Omega, they showed up and showed out in this match. Motivated by the love shown to them by their hometown fans, and the House of Black once again looked like a force of nature that will be difficult to unseat, which is exactly how you want your champions to look. Good way to wrap up a solid episode of AEW Dynamite. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of AEW Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.